do you deal with the dualism within Islam then?
What do you mean?
The older passage is good, but the newer is better. So, for instance, say the Meccan Quran. In Mecca Quran, there is no jihad. There, and you mentioned multiple times about immigration. Migration was actually the thing that gave Islamic success. The migration from Mecca to Medina, and 100%. Then consequently, he then subdued both cities basically. So, how do you console that? The fact that you can have something in the Meccan Quran where there's no jihad, and it's deemed as good. But then you go to the Medina Quran, and the secondary passage in the Medina Quran would be classed as better.
What do you mean? You created two different Qurans. The Quran
there is two different Qurans. There's a Meccan Quran and a Medina Quran.
No, it's split into two. It's split. So you've got obviously you've got the verses where he's in Mecca, and then you've got the verses where he goes to Medina, and then in the end he actually comes back to Mecca. So
I'm literally quoting Imam Zuhri. Like I said, if we want to take Islam, and the whole of Islam is actually
there's not two Qurans. There's not a Meccan and Medina Quran.
There is actually. I can 100% conclusively.
Go and have a look. I can
100% conclusively prove actually. That's why there's passages from Mecca and passages from Medina. You've got top imams that actually speak about the differences of the two Qurans. So it's a fact. Islam, what encompasses the whole of Islam is basically the Mecca and Medina Quran, the Sirah, Hadith.
Have you got these books on you, the Mecca and Medina Quran? Have you got these books? Can you show me?
Not on me, no.
Where have you got this information?
Because I've like I say back over here, so 7,000 hadiths. I haven't read them all, but I've read big swathes of them.
What's that got to do with Mecca and Medina Quran?
Because there's the dualism. There was no jihad. For instance, jihad is basically migration. Jihad is what gave Islam the success.
You've obviously looked at something and misunderstood it. So you're talking about
no. This is
within Islam,
right? by the top imams in the world have said the same thing. That's why they relate to the Meccan path.
Here's what I think you might. Be referring to is obviously there is the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he brought the message first and told the people, the pagans, the Jews, Christians, and he was oppressed, right, for 13 years.
Yeah, he spent 13 years in Mecca, and he managed to. I think he managed to get about 150 people in them 13 years.
There was no warring in that first period, right? Then verses started to come down about defensive jihad, right? Because basically what happened then in Medina...
It's not defensive jihad, it was offensive jihad. Because when Muhammad went to Medina, that's when Islam becomes...
You sound like you're panicky and you're just trying to win points. Do you want to have a conversation or not? Like there's no Mecca and Medina Qurans. That doesn't exist. Let me explain to you what you've misunderstood. So basically, when then the people went to go after the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and the Muslims at the time. So if we talk about the Battle of Badr, for example, right?
Yeah.
There were 313 Muslims in Medina, and 1,000 people went to attack. Verses came down, and this is where people quote the violent verses. Verses came down about you can kill, and it gave kind of a ruling on what you should do within the war, how you should defend yourself. You can't kill women and children, you can't do this, you can't do that. And then obviously I think there's one in the Quran, probably one offensive jihad, because when in the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, time, it was all really defensive jihad. But then obviously the Muslims did grow, and then there was offensive jihad. And basically this was a period, right, where empires, it's not like now where we have UN and we have international law and stuff. You lived in empires, right? You had the Byzantines, the Romans, and basically it's either in that time you either attack or you get attacked. There was no real kind of treaties between people and stuff like that. It was.
Yes, it was. Muhammad actually broke multiple treaties.
Give me an example.
Off the top of my head, can't remember the name off the top of my head, but in Medina, basically Muhammad was charged with basically being an ombudsman, if you will, for different arguments. Muhammad actually took that one further and actually subjugated the whole lot. That's when we first get what you call Sharia implemented, and the rules of Islam being forced upon a nation.
Are you talking about?
I'm talking about the true documented history of Islam.
So
as in the text, and as for instance,
are you aware of
the battles, the 400 and odd battles that were actually fought over the period of time?
Do you know what the Treaty of Medina is? Do you know what the Treaty of Medina is, where peace was signed between the Jews, the pagans in that area? Are you aware of any of that?
Yes.
So you are aware of that.
And how long did that last? Before Medina?
Well, it wasn't the Muslims that broke the peace treaty,
wasn't it?
No, and in fact, I don't know. I'm trying to work out where, because it sounds like you've read some bits off some Islamophobe websites. I need to try and piece together.
No, there's no such thing as Islamophobe.
Where's your source? What's your source?
I love the keywords.
What's your source?
The Mecca Quran, Medina Quran, the Hadith, the Sirah.
Lawful
the life of Muhammad, and mainly the words of Muhammad.
You've read that, yeah? You've read all that.
Not all of the Hadith, no.
Which biography? Which Sirah have you read?
There's 7,000 Hadith under his name.
Which Sirah have you read? Which Sirah?
The Sirah, the life of Muhammad.
Yeah, which one?
It's an autobiography.
Who's the author? There's a few.
See, this is what I think you're trying to do. I think you're trying to complicate something that can be very, very simple.
Not really.
Islam can actually be quantified quite easy. For instance,
you've come onto the panel talking about a Mecca, a Medina Quran.
Because it's factual. But if you
Lawful Rebel, can you tell me the 5 pillars of
Islam? This is why Islam.
The 5 pillars of Islam.
5 pillars of Islam. In a minute, 2 seconds, because I'm still trying to say something.
You don't even know the 5 pillars of Islam, and you're coming up to me for a debate on Islam.
I do, but that's not what I'm talking about. You're trying to reflect, and I'm not going to try and let you deflect.
Like these 5 things are the principles of which, as Muslims, we live on. If you don't even know that, what books are you reading? I mean, go and look at take some verses and bring them back.
Why can't you discuss the subject that I'm actually feeling? Why do you have to keep deferring?
You haven't brought one up.
To push it away.
What's your topic? I've addressed the offensive jihad. I'm not against
jihad. For instance, jihad. A lot of people don't understand jihad properly. There's jihad of
and you do, right?
Sword, money. Yes, because next to this is why I always say, if you actually read into the warfare that Muhammad created, you can blatantly tell he read Sun Tzu, and I would probably say it's one of the most effective forms of warfare that we see even up to the modern day. It is designed to completely undermine society and civilization, its very root traditional values.
What do you mean?
By money, laws. I mean, for instance. We have a modern equivalent of it. For instance, there's a thing called the Barcelona Declaration of 1995, where they had to create a declaration to guarantee the acceptance of Islam in Europe using laws, media, and everything like that. Now, why would they have to do that if it was a religion of peace? Because I'm not being funny. Like I said, you'd say it's a religion of peace. Well, how comes? And it's exactly what makes it political ideology and not a thing. Why is 51% of Islam, the text of Islam, dedicated to how you deal with the kafir?
Hold on, Lawful, we never said that. You can't do a false premise and then argue.
Terrible argumentation. Terrible.
It's not a terrible argument. So basically, we're now. So everybody's now saying that,
you've ignored everything I've said. 51% about dealing with the kafir, right? I've basically explained to you about people that were attacking the Muslims, and verses have come down. Violent verses on how you deal with defending yourself in war. So there are lots of verses of war in there, and I don't deny that. I don't call Islam a religion of peace. If you want a war with the Muslims, the Muslims are going to defend themselves.
That's the same with any civilization. But if you're saying it's defensive, then how comes there's so many offensive factors? For instance, like in jihad, like using undermining money, laws, and stuff like that. That's not defensive. That's offensive by its very nature.
There were Jews.
I think
Christians that live under the Muslim rule. Do a bit of research on your history, and you will see so many Jewish populations living under Muslim rule and being quite happy. I've said this. I said this on another panel. There was a period of time, well, technically speaking, since the Muslims had control of the same amount of things, there has been, I'd say, more tolerance in certain ways, but. Muslims won't blow up a religious building. They respect other religions. They respect other people.
Can you then explain how comes churches and cathedrals across Europe have been burnt down? Then,
that's not Islamic. That is very strict.
To Islam, though. So Islam, it doesn't say in Islam you are to destroy their idols and everything like that. No,
it doesn't. It doesn't.
You sure?
It doesn't. It tells you don't disrespect anyone else's God because they will disrespect yours. It tells you that you're not allowed to destroy other people's holy places. These are specific. These are specific.
But aren't they allowed to break the rules if it furthers Islam?
Yes, and they are. I mean, they are allowed deceit. That's why. That's why Allah is called the Great Deceiver. I mean, what a name for God! Great Deceiver. Is that not one of his 99 names, Jordan? Is that not one of his 99 names, the Great Deceiver?
Yeah, but his other ones are the most just, the most merciful, the most. Why are you bringing one name to me? Because that's not a deception. It's not.
So Taqiyya is the fact, and the other four or five forms of lying within Islam.
So Taqiyya, unless you're talking to a Shia Muslim, right? So Taqiyya would be something like if my life was at threat, right? So if you were to come up to me and threaten my life, I could actually deny being a Muslim, and that wouldn't be a sin. I could use Taqiyya in that instance.
2 cents.
Yeah, have a Google.
I'm not Googling. I've just got a message from my son, so bear with me.
So Jordan, while he's doing whatever he's doing, and Danny's got
I don't
I think.
Jupiter, I don't mean to, when I'm talking, I sound like often that I am like trying to belittle somebody or try and like personally attack, but the thing is, I'm not. I want to know if someone like Lawful Rebel is coming up to me and pulling out Quran verses, pulling out Hadith, he doesn't even know the basics, the fundamentals.
Oh, you think I don't? But this is why
it needs to be highlighted.
Okay. All right, then, Jordan. Then say to me now.
Hold on, Lawful. Jordan, you wasn't coming across rude anyway.
Okay,
no, I didn't.
I can see that Lawful's style of talking is very combative anyway, which it is, Lawful. You probably don't realise, but it is.
Oh no, I've had a very long day.
So yeah,
combative.
Whereas Danny and myself and Jordan were more into the conversational sort of way of speaking to try and understand each other and where each other are coming from, rather than to point score.
Yeah, this is
win a debate.
I would like Jordan to agree to a full actual discussion, and then I shall bring forward all the text and everything I'm stating. I've literally just got home and then jumped on here, so I haven't got anything I can sit and discuss things. But even basic things where I can get imams that have said exactly what I've just said, Jordan has said they're lying. So I don't get it.
I'm sure. Look, I could get Christian people to say horrible things. There are fringe people in all.
No, it's not horrible. There is imams that are extremely honest about Islam because they won't think.
I don't follow imams.
So Jordan, there's a question from the audience, and that is that you say that Muslims are not to destroy religious,
why did Muhammad
churches.
Destroy this?
Yeah, why did they? Yeah.
Muhammad, in the Hadith, Muhammad actually orders things to be destroyed.
No, so there's a thing. Muhammad destroyed the idols in the Kaaba. At the Kaaba, right?
Yeah.
So the story behind this is, and like I say, strict rules in Islam about what other people believe. But basically, this was 3 years after. So Muslims had taken over, right? And majority of the people were Muslim then, right? And so basically, what it's a bit like if an area was to convert religion to something else, certain things would change, right? So if somewhere went from Islamic, if the Christians came and suddenly it became more of a Christian, they'd probably take down a lot of the stuff that represents Muslims. Now these idols at Mecca were not people's personal property. This was stuff there. Muhammad, peace be upon him, did destroy it, but this was after. Like I say, it wasn't like he just went along and said, right, you pagans, you don't believe in this. So that's the story behind that. You look at the context of everything else in Islam, there's respect to other religions. That's obviously you're talking about, idol worship.
And there's also talk of striking the unbeliever by the neck and stuff like that.
Yes, yeah. So if in war, right? So and that's exactly. I think you probably got.
No, that's wherever it states quite clearly wherever you see them.
Yeah, wherever you see them. If I'm in a warring zone, right, and they're coming at me, striking them to the neck, and that's probably. I mean, that's war, isn't it? And striking them at the neck. And that time, they didn't have nuclear weapons. They didn't have bombs. It was basically, it's probably the most humane way to probably kill somebody. It's, as horrible as it sounds, it's war.
That's an interesting perspective, but there's been constant war with Islam. That's how they.
But are you taking that verse and saying that suddenly Muslims are ordered to strike kafar in the back of the neck?
No, I'm saying that that's one of the basic
did you not read it and go, you know what? Maybe there's more to this.
Yeah, that's why I always say
Lawful, I want to ask you a couple of questions that you maybe want to answer to do with Islam for me before I go back to Danny, because it was Danny and Jordan that were meant to be having this debate, and I want them to finish up their debates fully. So, Lawful, would you say that Islam is compatible in the UK? Well, I mean, obviously, I believe you're going to say no from what you've been saying, but could you give reasons why you don't believe so? For maybe Jordan to.
Well, my belief of Islam, like I said, this is why I make the difference between the Meccan and the Medina Quran. The Meccan Quran, there is no jihad, and and I will say some of the writings in the Meccan Quran are actually quite beautiful. In that way, possibly yes, but because of the political side, which is the majority of Islam, it then butts itself up against any civilization that doesn't have the same core values. And then you've got our constitution, which we've built up over 1,000 years to stop people from killing each other for no reason and stuff like that, especially because they believe in something. So there would be complete contrast between the laws that millions of people have died to uphold, the rights millions of people have died to uphold, and the belief. Because the fact that, belief actually means to not know.
So what the sorry, I didn't catch all of that. Can you summarize it? Sorry, I was sort of away with it.
Basically, there's core beliefs and core values within Islam that would butt up and has butted up against any other civilization that doesn't have the same core beliefs. I mean, there is similarities, and this is similarities when you're talking about, for instance, things like modesty and certain things. There's similarities across Islam and other cultures, but when you've got Islam that unless you believe in Allah, then you're a kafir. For instance, I'd be.
You're a non-believer. What's wrong with that?
Well, I have a problem with being.
You don't believe in Allah, you're a non-believer.
I have a problem with being a third-class demi and having to pay the jizya just to have my life.
What do you have to pay? The jizya, right? So who pays the jizya, Lawful Rebel?
Anybody who wishes to have their life and continue their
really. So do elderly have to pay jizya?
The elderly?
Yeah.
In what manner?
Well, let's say Jews live under a Muslim rule. Do the Jewish elderly have to pay jizya? I'll help you out. No. Do the children have to pay? Obviously not. There's no tax for them. It's only people of fighting age, right? Only people of fighting age have to pay a tax. And it's like a protection money. And what you're welcome to do is you're welcome to go and fight with the Muslims. So this isn't a tax. You pay tax.
It's like you pay tax.
You pay tax? What happens if you don't pay your tax, Lawful Rebel?
How about the halal tax? Do children and old pensioners have to pay that?
What's a halal tax? What's that?
You don't know what halal tax is?
No.
You claim know enough about Islam and you don't know what the halal tax is.
Halal tax.
Well, can you tell us all, please? Stop with go on.
Halal tax is basically a tax on
chicken.
It's basically food that has been ritualized under Islam.
Do you know what halal means, right?
Yes.
What does it mean?
Halal is a direct relation to how it's slaughtered, to how clean.
No. Halal in Islam. How can you not know that? Halal means permissible.
Doesn't it mean permissible?
Halal means permissible. Halal means permissible.
Exactly acceptable. So that's how
you've looked at it, right? Maybe
pigs are not allowed because they're classed as dirty.
Lawful Rebels looked at a book and it said it's halal for this tax, and he's gone halal tax. Wow, the chicken slaughtered. Oh, that's terrible.
I think you're just
that's the length of it.
In its very text, like I said, there's things I've said tonight that imams and scholars have said that you are saying that's wrong, and that's people from your own religion.
And imams told you about the halal chicken tax.
Halal tax, yes.
And that's about meat and chicken. So what? Is that,
it's not just about meat. It's not just
like you Jews. You have to pay chicken tax.
That's why, for instance, most schools have to have halal food. That's why cabbages have turned halal and stuff like that. It's to do with ingredients and what Muslims actually put into their body.
Lawful.
That's why Muhammad says about pigs, because pigs are unclean. And you
Lawful. I want to get back to Danny and Jordan now. I don't know if you two want to arrange another day on Lawfuls. I think he's
I would love to. I'd love to have a discussion, and I'd love to sort of.
Yeah, he'd love to. I think you're sort of the star of the show recently, Jordan. So I don't know if you want to arrange that.
I try and come on these streams because not because I want to be popular or anything like that. I like having my beliefs tested. I like listening to people like Danny, even though I don't believe in what he's saying. I don't mind. I jump on now the G Block and others, and I don't mind that, and it sort of helps me.
The reason why I want to talk to people like you, Jordan, is because I'm trying to understand Islam, and this is what I find very difficult. It's like there's well-respected scholars and imams that you say what they say is wrong. So it's like this is a problem. This is why any non-Muslim really.
Can you name me one? Name me one. Name me one.
I can't pronounce the names, and I wouldn't.
You have one of the names.
I wouldn't even try because I can't pronounce the names. But this is the thing. This is why Islam can be quantified, and it has been quantified. That's why it's been done. That's why we know how much of the Quran, the Hadith, and the Sirah actually relate to the non-Muslim stuff like that. These have actually been quantified by scientists, well-respected scientists and mathematicians. For instance, how many times Jihad is within the Quran, to whether it's in the Hadith and things like that.
Okay, Lawful. I think what you're going to have to do is go to Jordan Ems and set up a debate with him at another time, because I really want Danny and Jordan to carry on their conversation.